Most national founding myths, they usually start with like
Mm,
a flawless hero,
right.
right? A noble warrior or a philosopher king or something.
Right. Totally. Someone perfectly suited for the job.
Exactly. But when you look at the foundational narrative of the West, specifically the authorized King James Version, it takes this much stranger path. We're doing an exploration into the source material today, covering Genesis through the early chapters of Exodus, and it's just wild.
Oh, it really is.
It starts with a handful of dust, a brother's murder, and this stuttering exile who absolutely did not want the job of leading anybody.
We're looking at how a really messy family journey actually evolved into a massive national identity through, well, creation, covenant, and then crisis.
So let's jump right into the creation part, the blueprint, basically.
Right. So in this 6-day creation account, you get this immediate tension right from the jump. You have this highly structured order, culminating in the sanctification of the seventh day. But then look at the creation of man. He's formed from the dust of the ground.
Literally the most basic, humble material you could find.
Exactly. But he only becomes a living soul after the breath of life is actually added. It's this incredible synergy of, earthly dirt meeting the infinite spirit.
But then that synergy just completely fractures in the garden almost immediately. Take the prohibition of the tree of knowledge. I've always viewed the serpent's pitch, that whole "you shall not surely die" line, as sort of the ultimate terms and conditions bypass.
Oh, wow. That is such a good way to put it.
Right. It's just a subtle linguistic shift, but it convinces humanity they can completely ignore the fine print. And it feels like the narrative is suggesting the real crisis wasn't about eating a piece of fruit.
No, not at all.
It was about the loss of innocence. The exact moment humans decided that they, and not the blueprint, got to define what was good.
Which leads right into the very first family conflict. You see this whole shift toward self-definition with Cain and Abel. People always wonder why Cain's offering was rejected. Abel brings the first slayings of his flock, his absolute best.
And Cain just brings fruit of the ground.
Yeah, so it wasn't about the item itself. It was about the heart of the giver. And when Cain realizes he can't control the outcome, he resorts to murder, getting that mark of Cain. It sets off this massive pattern of human ego that eventually peaks at the Tower of Babel.
Right. The tower where humanity tries to just build their way up to God using architecture. It's the ultimate collective ego trip. But then the narrative shifts gears entirely.
It really zooms in.
Yeah, it moves from a global scattering of people and confounded languages to just a single man, Abram. And this is where the power of names really takes over. He goes from Abram to Abraham because of a specific promise that nations and kings would come from his lineage.
And he has that really fascinating encounter with Melchizedek, the king of Salem, who brings out bread and wine. It's the first time we see royalty and divinity meet outside of the family line.
Setting a huge precedent. But then, man, the story gets so incredibly gritty again with the next generations, especially with Jacob. He's literally known as the supplanter, someone who trips another person up to take their place.
Yeah, the family dynamics are incredibly messy.
I mean, I have to push back a little here. If this text is supposed to be a blueprint for a nation, why is the foundation built on a guy like Jacob? He buys his brother Esau's birthright for pottage.
Which is just a cheap bowl of lentil stew, yeah.
Exactly. A cheap stew. And then later he wears a goatskin disguise to trick his dying father Isaac into giving him the blessing. That is a super low bar for a chosen hero.
It is, but I think that's the point. The source material doesn't hide his flaws at all. Remember Jacob's vision of the ladder with the angels ascending and descending?
Yeah, the connection between heaven and earth.
Right. It suggests that the divine connection isn't dependent on human perfection. We see this messy causality most clearly with his son, Joseph. He gets the coat of many colors, his brothers betray him, and sell him for 20 pieces of silver.
But that exact betrayal becomes the transport mechanism for their survival. It's pure irony. They try to kill Joseph's dream by selling him to Egypt, but they accidentally position him to become the governor who saves them all during the 7 years of famine.
Exactly. But even that safety is temporary. The sources tell us a new king rose in Egypt who, knew not Joseph. And suddenly, this favored family is a nation of slaves facing a decree against their male children.
Which pushes us right to the crisis at Mount Horeb, the burning bush. Moses is called to lead them out, but he is remarkably reluctant.
He really is. He keeps telling God he is slow of speech, he has a slow tongue. He's basically throwing out every excuse he can find.
But the revelation he gets in response is so strange and amazing. God identifies as I am that I am. It's not a name, it's a verb. It tells Moses that his insecurities don't matter because God is an active presence, not a static concept.
Right. And then he's told to take a simple shepherd's rod, just a normal tool of his trade, and use it to confront Pharaoh.
It's incredible. So we've basically moved from the complete silence of the beginning to a people whose cry has reached heaven. They've shifted from a family to a nation.
And their leader has shifted from a reluctant shepherd to a liberator.
It really makes you wonder about that rod. It was literally just a stick until it became a rod of God. So for everyone listening, as you reflect on this journey from the dust to the burning bush, think about this.
Yeah, how does it apply?
Well, if a person's identity can change that drastically, it suggests that your potential is defined by your mission, not your own slow tongue or past mistakes. So what rod are you holding right now, and what could it become if you actually used it?